The end announcement document and the end scrolling announcement documents are variations of the original document we made for this playlist, which is called Scrolling Announcements up here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into our library and we're going to find those scrolling announcements. So 2021, 05, 16. Here's all these. Here's the one document. Okay, first thing we're going to do is edit, duplicate. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the end scrolling announcements first because this is the most similar. So we're going to do end scrolling announcements. Get rid of copy one and you're good. Okay, so now we're going to put this at the bottom of the document. Okay, end scrolling announcements. So the end scrolling announcements are what the congregation sees on the screens in front, but then also on the screen in the back as they're exiting the sanctuary. So obviously, if it's at the end of service, we don't want it saying welcome at the beginning. So what we can do is go down here. Typically, there is a goodbye slide also. And you can just overlay that. And now that one is the go in peace. We don't need the prayer before service or the service theme, so we're just going to get rid of those completely. Okay, and now we're just at our scrolling announcements. We see that it has the go to next timer in it, so these are going to flow from one to the next based on the timer. And then here we have our loop to beginning, so it'll go back here and keep doing that until we stop it. So one thing that we do want to do is we want to change the display queue. So we're going to go edit queue and we're going to modify stage display. Typically we use standard, and we've used these for every document. The one time we don't use standard is in the end scrolling announcements, and that's because we do duplicate. And the reason why we do this is because when the congregation is leaving and they see the TV on the back, it looks better if they're just looking at the one slide. They don't need to see what the next slide is, like Pastor does during the service. It just looks neater and cleaner if they can just see the one slide on the full size of the screen. So that is duplicate screen, which means we're duplicating what's on the front of the screen. Okay, so that one's done. Now to create the end announcements, we're going to take the end scroll announcements and we're going to duplicate that. So edit, duplicate. So now we've got a duplicate copy of that one. We're going to take the word scrolling out because these are the slides and the announcements that Pastor actually talks through. So we don't want them scrolling. We want him to be able to control that. Okay, and we put it there. Okay, everything else is good. Okay, all these slides are good. We want to say go in peace, but we don't want the timer. So we are going to remove all timers. This means it goes back to manually clicking from slide to slide. The other thing that we need to change is, remember, in the end scrolling announcements, we duplicated the screen, okay, for when the congregation is walking out. For the end announcements that Pastor's speaking through, we don't want to do this. He wants to be able to see the current slide that he's on as well as the next announcement slide that's coming up. So what we have to do there is edit, stage display, and instead of duplicate, we go back to standard. And then that document is done. And oops, made the mistake of make sure that even though you create the document, it only helps if you bring it into your playlist. And so there's our end announcements. And there's our end scrolling announcements.